Disney is reaching back out to the Russo brothers, and they want to get them back on board. Now, I think that would be a good thing. These two, what they delivered with Infinity War and Endgame has not been replicated since. Like, that's, peak cinema, Martin Scorsese.
Right.
You know?
I agree with you. I mean, it's like it worked.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Only Comics. I'm Mike, also known, I messed you up there, Adrian, also known as He Who Is Right.
Oh, my God.
And this, we all know why. And this is my PIC. We're the dynamic duo here. You know what PIC is, Adrian?
No.
Partner in crime, bro.
Oh, okay. That works,
Partner
too.
in crime, Adrian.
All right. Hey, good morning.
How we doing, bro?
All is well. All is well. Another beautiful day in New England.
It's like summer's back.
Right? Well, what's up with that?
I mean, now, 60 degrees for me is like, that's like summer, dude. I'm good. T-shirt, shorts, I'm back at it, bro.
60 degrees is almost too hot, dude. It's
Yeah.
like you definitely flip-flops, break all that mess out,
Absolutely. Well, we have another action-packed show as always, Adrian. We got a hidden gem this week that I've never even heard of, so
Wow.
I doubt that most of our audience has heard of this individual, so we'll get to that. But we're going to kick off like we always do with Newsflash, buddy. There was a new trailer this past week, Adrian. So there's, we have there's a couple cinematic universes, right? We have the MCU.
Yep.
We have whatever the hell DC's doing at the moment. It's like an in-between. There's like DCEU still kind of wrapping up, but it's not. And then DCU is launching, but it hasn't yet. So I don't even think they know, right? And then there's this, like, I guess you'd call it like the Sonyverse maybe. There's these Venom movies,
Right.
which don't have Spider-Man. Now listen to that. There's Venom movies that don't have Spider-Man. Then there's is it a Morbius, Morpheus, with Jared Leto?
Morbius.
Morbius. Have you seen that?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Okay. How was it?
It's decent. I obviously don't remember much of it, so
Okay.
I'm kind of like packing away the stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Magic question, Adrian.
No.
Was it better than Black Adam?
No, it was not. No, it was not.
All right. I've not seen it yet. What I've heard about is it's a boring movie. That's what I've heard. But that's another Spider-Man villain, right?
Right.
There's no Spider-Man. There's a Craven movie in the works, but we saw a trailer this past week for Madam Web, I guess is the name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a whole lot about this character. We discussed it once on the podcast. I forget why. I think she was in the news. I think when this movie was rumored. Movie features a couple Spider women.
Right.
And then there's a Spider-Man looking villain that the guy has like the all black Spider-Man suit almost with like the red trimming.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is either. But it seems that they're bringing all these Spider-Man characters into this Sonyverse, but still no Spider-Man. You saw the trailer.
I did. It's almost like Sony's trying to get in the game some kind of way, but obviously they don't have the Spider-Man, so they bringing up all these other characters just so they can have some kind of presence.
Right.
Maybe that's what it. I don't know who that character is either. That looks like a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a robotic kind of a moving.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure it's a person, but it's just weird.
That being said, I thought the trailer looked decent, to be honest, but also I feel like we've said the same about like Venom trailers in the past, and you get to the movie and you're like, wow, this movie feels like it was made in the early 2000s, back when they were still trying to figure out superhero movies.
Right. Also, the trailer was so long, I feel like, I've seen the movie already. So I don't know what I'm going to see outside of, whatever this is, other than, the kid selling the popcorn at the stand, that experience. But it's a long trailer.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like, you're introducing these characters for the first time. We really shouldn't have seen them in their suits and powers and all that. And, like, you see the progression from the one character, Madam Web, being a solo and then bringing the team together. So you know all that happens, which I agree. That should not be, especially not the first trailer, man.
Right.
Like, maybe give me that one, like, right before the movie comes out. That way, if I'm already interested in watching, I probably won't watch it, But, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not. Now, that being said, though, the what you saw in the trailer, do you think it's going to be a good movie?
I think it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know about good, but probably entertaining.
Yeah.
I'll probably go to the movies and see what's going on.
Yeah, with me, man. Maybe something different to check out, but I do think that if they want that Sonyverse to succeed, they need to somehow tie into Spider-Man in some way, shape, or form.
Right. I mean, they gave so much in the first trailer, and the movie is still. When is it coming out?
I don't even know. I don't even know if there was a date yet.
Yeah, so there's probably going to be a couple of more trailers coming out, right?
Right.
So they've given so much of, preview. It's like by the time you actually they will literally, have shown the whole movie through the trailers by the time all the stuff comes out. So
actually, I lied. The release date is February 14th of 24, so next Valentine's Day, so in a couple months.
Right. Okay.
So,
but still, like you said, for the first trailer, that's a lot of stuff.
Yep.
That's a lot of
stuff. Which leads me to the next piece of news, like that segue there, Adrian. Spider-Man 4, okay? The MCU Spider-Man 4 will reportedly merge with Sony's Venomverse. Now, this article says it seems bad, but I actually think that's a good thing. Yeah. I love the Spider-Man movies from the MCU, but they don't feel real Spider-Man to me. It feels like Spider-Man was plucked out of his Spider universe and just dropped into this Avengers world, which is pretty much what happened, right?
Right.
I think Tom Holland's done an amazing job. I mean, No Way Home was a great, wrap up to that film, and that was kind of a little reset. And the way that ended, it looked like Spider-Man's now back to that neighborhood. He's broke. He has no Iron Man no more. No one knows who he is, right? And I think that would be a perfect setup to have him live in this universe where we have Venom and Morpheus or Mobius or whatever the hell his name is, and these other characters. Like, I think this would be a good thing. I would love to, I'd like to see some Spider-Man stories that are a little more grounded. Like, we've seen Spider-Man in space already fighting Thanos, you know. Right. How do you feel about the rumor that these two are going to kind of merge?
I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially new comic book fans that are coming in, they see these villains like Kraven's coming out, Carnage, and all these other Spider-Man villains, but there's no grounds for them existing.
Right.
So they just kind of popping up, and people don't know. People think they're one-offs, right? They don't understand the connection or where they came from. All these characters, but it's interesting, though. They're making all these villain movies around Spider-Man.
Right.
I mean, there's so many other villains around other popular characters. The X-Men, they don't have their, you don't have a Magneto movie coming out, things like that. So it's interesting. I think it's a good thing, but, even from the perspective of, let's just explain to people where these characters are coming from.
Yeah, no, it's a cool way to get these origins established. It's almost reverse of how they've built these, universes in the past. It's always hero first, and they kind of drop in one villain at a time. And that's kind of been Marvel's formula, right? It's like you got a Hulk movie, and he's fighting Abomination, and that's it. Right, and then you got Iron Man's first movie. He's fighting Ironmonger. That's it. And then Whiplash in the second one. And then I think one of the movies that did it very well is the Batman. There was already several villains set up. Riddler was the main villain. Right. Penguin's there. Falcone's there. You have the corrupt cops. Like the Joker's already there. He's locked up. Catwoman, she's villain not. And I like that idea because that feels more like the comics to me.
Right. I mean, but also these villains are so much established already.
Yeah.
Everybody, because there's so much Batman content out there. They're always, he's always fighting the same main villains. Right. Joker, Riddler. The Catwoman is somewhere in between.
Yep.
So people have already been introduced to these people. So even if they did a one-off movie or whatever, like Catwoman, they have, people already know who they are.
Yeah.
But Kraven the Hunter, do you really know who that is?
No idea.
No. So,
but actually, I've been playing the new Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 2, and he's the main villain in that. Yeah. And dude, he's a badass.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't realize how much. He's a savage, dude.
Yeah. Literally, Kraven is a savage. So definitely, but so people need to understand, and I hope they portray that well in this upcoming movie.
That trailer looks good,
about that.
The Kraven one. If I remember right, I think it's going to be rated R. It looked pretty brutal.
they're starting to understand that, you know, people look for certain things in comics, and comic books are not PG-13 for the most part.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you say that a lot on this show. Like, and I agree. I mean, even some of the comics that the few stories we've read on this show, like The Death in the Family. I mean, that's not a children's book, right? I mean,
if you look at Batman and you look at like Daredevil, them two dudes alone. I mean, they're popping Percocets or whatever because they go out and they're battling all these guys. They get bruised up, beat up, cut up, shot. You know, I mean, that's pretty graphic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're fighting in the dark, I mean, you're doing some pretty, you know, savage stuff.
Right.
And there's you know, something happens as a result of that. You know, you leave blood all over the place, teeth get knocked out.
Right.
So, I mean, those aren't PG-13 moves.
No.
So Disney needs to get up off that.
Absolutely. And we've seen it work with Logan, with Deadpool. I mean, we've seen a few of these rated R movies that did just as well, if not better, than a lot of these PG-13. Because, I mean, I think the audience is a little older now.
Sure.
It's not. I mean, they have stuff for the kids, but you can have a good mix. There's enough stories out there.
Right.
Like Spider-Man is never going to be rated R.
Right.
Spider-Man is, you have to attract the kids with Spider-Man. I get that, but Batman, definitely you could go that route.
Deadpool. I mean, even, you know, Superman, Wonder Woman, all that kind of stuff. Those are, you know, rated R characters.
Absolutely.
They should not be, you know, the Little Mermaid level kind of you know, shows.
But I like this idea, and, you know, I think about in Spider-Man No Way Home, they juggled kind of an ensemble cast of villains, right? They had, 4 or 5 villains in there, which they did a good job at. So, you know, we've seen a little taste of that. You know what I'd love to see on screen is Spider-Man and Black Cat. We've not seen that. You know, and she's basically like almost like Marvel's version of Catwoman. And her and Spider-Man have a similar dynamic, you know, with Batman and Catwoman.
Correct.
I think that'd be great to see on screen.
Yeah. That would be good to see. Because you're right. I mean, they similar power sets, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they couldn't get into it like, you know, Batman and Catwoman gets into it.
Right.
But, you know, Spider-Man does have that relationship with a pseudo villain, you know, that
because they've dated at times and been, you know, and then you got MJ who's always jealous of her and vice versa, you know. So I think that'd be great to see on screen. But yeah, Spider-Man, I mean, there's a lot more they can do with Spider-Man. It's kind of like you talk about this a lot where they redo the same stories. Like we've seen kind of the same beats already with Spider-Man 2-3 times. Let's explore some stuff we've not seen, like Kraven. I also love that they're bringing the Daredevil, Kingpin, Wilson Fisk characters into the Spider-Man stories. Right. So that's rumored to continue, which I think, you know, some of Spider-Man's best stories are with Wilson Fisk. Right. You know, so I think and I love the guy who plays him, Vincent Dion, whatever you say his name.
Right, whatever.
We're not experts here on Only Comics, so, you know, we will mispronounce some names. We might be wrong about a whole storyline. We might be like, yo, this happened in this story, and you may be like, no, it didn't, and you're probably right. Right. The only difference is we got the podcast. So,
hey, did you see Vincent in that movie? It's like 20 years old now with J-Lo. He plays like this demon or something like that. You ought to check that out.
Yeah.
You know. It's a while ago, but he was pretty amazing in that too. So.
Oh shit. Yeah. He's a great actor. I'm not surprised. All right. What else we got going on in the news? It's a lot this week, Adrian. There's so the Invincible creator, he accidentally revealed who Steven Yeun is playing in the MCU. Well, I don't know who this dude is. But the reason I put this in the news flash segment, Adrian, is you've mentioned Sentry before on this show. I don't know much about Sentry. And I want to say you mentioned him when we were talking about power sets that would be very difficult to portray on screen.
Correct.
And so that's what hit me about this. So we've now learned that they are going to portray Sentry on screen, and I want to say it's in the Thunderbolts movie, which is like Marvel's version of like Suicide Squad, essentially, right? Okay. From what you know about Sentry, first of all, do you know this actor who's alleged playing Sentry?
Who's the actor?
Steven Yeun, Yeun.
The dude that got his head crushed in on The Walking Dead, that guy?
Possibly.
The
I've never
Chinese
seen The
actor?
Walking Dead. He is Asian, yeah.
Well, I say Chinese, but the Asian actor.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that I know him. He also he's the voice for the main character in Invincible.
Okay.
The cartoon on
Yep.
What is it?
Prime.
Prime, yeah.
Yep. No, you're right. That is the dude.
That dude.
Yeah, he's actually from South Korea.
South Korea.
So yeah, what you know about this guy? What you know about Sentry? Do you think this dude can portray Sentry, and do you think Sentry can portray properly on screen?
I do. Okay, so Sentry is basically Marvel's Superman.
Okay.
Kinda, from what I understand, right? I don't know his power sets off the top of my head, but I think he's like Marvel's version of Superman. And Steven Yeun or whatever, I'm not feeling that. Because this guy, I mean, you got a Henry Cavill playing Superman, then you go to Steven and he's like miniature.
Yeah.
At best. I mean, unless he does something between now and then to bulk himself up.
Yeah,
which he could. I don't see it, but yeah, no, I'm not feeling that at all.
Okay. Now, what about the power set? So you said essentially their version of Superman, which, I mean, one thing we talked about the Marvels last week. Mm-hmm. I will say that, and even looking back now, I don't know. You probably could have talked me up higher with that score, maybe, but we're not going to revisit that. I would say that they portrayed Captain Marvel's power set much better in that film than they have in any other film, and even just a lot of like how they show, like, this is a critique that I think I've had about Marvel a lot, and why one of the reasons why I like Black Adam a lot more than most of our audience is the way the powers are portrayed on screen. Mm-hmm. Black Adam looks like a super strength individual on screen, and sometimes in the MCU, these super powerful people don't, right? But I think they did a great job of showing Captain Marvel's power set in her movie, which leads me to believe that they could get that right with Sentry if he's a Superman-esque character. But as far as the casting, I mean, looking at the dude's picture, he does look like a smaller guy. I don't know. I mean, I guess they'd have to put a lot of padding in that suit, you know?
Right.
All right. Well, Sentry, we'll see what happens with that. Moving on to the next piece of news. So
I'm actually kind of disturbed about that.
Okay.
I mean, this guy, I mean, he's grown in popularity since the Walking Dead thing. Since he got, taken out of it or beat out of it, however that happened. I kind of stopped watching it after that, so I don't know what happened. But so he was in this latest film about the director that did Get Out.
Okay.
He did the one about the spaceship or whatever.
Yeah.
They out on the ranch. He was playing some yodel out doing whatever. So he was in that. And then he's the voice of the main character in Invincible.
Yeah.
So for me, who I don't really look at TV and a bunch of movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For him to pop up on my radar, he's become. I say if I notice it, then everybody else should have seen it like 10 years ago.
Got it.
So for him to pop up on my radar, that means that he's pretty out there.
Yeah.
Doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But him being Sentry, that's disturbing to me.
Okay.
Actually, I'm processing this in the back of my head, and it's kind of disturbing. But we'll see.
Hey, yeah, we could.
It might turns out he might own the thing,
right?
Like Hugh Jackman did Wolverine, or what's his face with Iron Man,
right.
Downey Jr.
Or like Robert Pattinson with Batman.
Hey, let's take it a little far there.
Or like Chris Hemsworth with Thor.
Up until he did the splits.
Yes,
no, I never want to see Chris Hemsworth again.
Speaking of Taika Waititi, my man. You know what he said, Adrian? He said, I won't be involved in Thor 5. If Marvel wants to see other people, I'm happy for that. And you know what, Taika? I'm happy for that, too. That's probably the best piece of news. Like, thank you for not – I don't want you anywhere near Thor anymore.
Right.
Thor Ragnarok was great. Love and Thunder was horrendous.
Yep.
And we don't need you anywhere near Thor again.
It's interesting that how the Thor character evolved. Hemsworth did a very good job of portraying him and building that character.
Yep.
I don't even know why he allowed certain, Love and Thunder. Some of the stuff that happened in Love and Thunder, he should have had more say into that.
Yeah.
Unless he thinks that he's funny now.
Right.
And he's trying to do funny stuff, which is bad, for him.
I bet he regrets it.
He was Thor was one of those characters that people were like, why are you making a film about this dude?
Right.
But he owned that character.
Yep.
Did a very good job on it, and I'm glad he came out because he's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, and it was a great arc. We talked about the Loki arc last week, where we both said that it's probably the best character arc in the MCU, ironically.
Right.
And Thor, I think he was going in the direction of having a great arc. I mean, think about Infinity War Thor. That was peak Thor.
Right.
Dude, still one of the most badass scenes in the entire MCU is when Thor shows up in Wakanda with Stormbreaker for the first time and screams, "Bring me Thanos!" Like, dude, come on.
Right.
And then you get to the fucking splits. You go from "Bring me Thanos" with fucking Stormbreaker flying through Wakanda's shield, right? Coming in, Thor's about to wreck, and he did wreck shit, dude.
Right.
And came this close to killing Thanos on his own. And then we got him doing splits and running around with screaming goats and shit. Like, so this is great news. This is great news. I think this is the last piece of news. Avenger. This is a rumor, okay, one of those trusted source rumors. But so allegedly, Marvel is reaching back out to some past directors. So the Russo brothers, right? They directed the entire Captain America trilogy. First Cap movie, Winter Soldier, Civil War. They directed Infinity War and Endgame. And they wrote those movies as well. So these two, I mean, they're iconic MCU directors. They've done some stuff afterwards. There's a movie they did took place in New York where Chadwick Boseman played a police officer. Something about bridges, 21 Bridges or something like that. That was a good movie too.
Yeah, that was good.
So these guys are great, right? And they stepped away after Endgame. And I think that people even asked them, once this next phase started going, if they'd ever be interested in coming back. And they were kind of like, not now. Like, they didn't say no, but they're like, not right now, But the rumor is that due to, I guess as the article put it, the growing pains during the multiverse saga, that Disney is reaching back out to the Russo brothers and they want to get them back on board. Now, I think that would be a good thing.
Sure.
It's kind of like, like Kevin Feige's been there from day one, right? You didn't bring in someone else to do his job because he's good at his job, right? If these two, what they delivered with Infinity War and Endgame has not been replicated since. Like, that's, peak cinema, Martin Scorsese,
right.
He says they're not cinema, but so I don't think that that's a bad thing, dude. I'm all for them bringing them back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's like it worked. Now, did they step away or did they get pushed out?
I think they were only contracted for those movies. So they were hired to do this set of movies and this phase. And then, so I don't know I think that was just it. And Marvel decided to go in a different direction for this new phase, just probably thinking, hey, we want to do something different now, right? But maybe now they're learning that, hey, the grass isn't always greener, dude.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good thing, them coming back, because that, you got that continuity of how good these movies are, across several movies, as opposed to this, okay, well, let's bring this other person in. Because every time a director comes in or a writer comes in, they come in with their own version of what they think these characters are. And, then you have some stupid, like, webs coming out of, their wrist, instead of the technology behind it.
Right.
And then you have, because he's stressed out, now he can't shoot the webs. I mean, that's just stupid.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing. And, of course, you don't know that you're watching a good movie unless you see some bad movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So they had a good movie. They didn't realize it was a good movie until the bad movies started showing up.
Right.
Right? So in this context, the good and the bad movies are, right? The Russo brothers are the good movie, and these directors after are the bad movies. So they experience the bad movies. Now they need to bring the good movies back.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm all for it. Another piece of, now you're probably not going to like this one, Adrian. And I got some theories too as to why I think this is accurate. So the rumor, there's all these rumors about Kang, Jonathan Majors. Rumors like they're gonna move away from this story. They're not. They're gonna keep going with Kang. They're not. You know, they're gonna replace Kang with Doom. We don't know, but the new rumor now is that, and I guess some facts that back this rumor, they just relieved a director for the Kang movie, Kang Dynasty, Avengers Kang Dynasty. Okay. The director or the writer, they replaced him. And when some folks asked about why he was replaced, they said it was because Marvel's moving away from the Kang story. So naturally, the guy who was so tied up in the Kang story, we don't need him if we're moving away from that, right?
Right.
So that's the one piece of news that kind of confirms this rumor. The other part that makes me think this is true, Adrian, is we saw Loki, right?
Right.
The way Loki ended, I believe that it ended this way so that Marvel could pivot in either direction and not have to do a lot of rewriting or retconning. Because think about the way it ended. Loki's now in the seat of He Who Remains, which, if you remember, He Who Was Right predicted. Right? So just,
yes,
I would like to stay humble, but it's hard, right? But anyways, he ended up in that spot, right? So there's no more He Who Remains. And then the TVA is tracking all of the Kang variants, and they said that he still doesn't know about the TVA yet. So it ended in the way that, I mean, technically the TVA could continue to monitor these variants. Loki can sit in that chair for the rest of his eternity and mess with those green vines, and Kang would never show up, right? That is very feasible now. So I think they did that partly because they weren't sure what's going to happen with Jonathan Majors. So if he is proven innocent and Marvel feels okay with it, then they can slide him back in, no problem, right? Kang variant finds out about TVA, we're good.
Right.
If they don't like the outcome of this, trial, because he's going to trial in a couple weeks, if they don't like the outcome, it's set up to basically ignore Kang.
Right.
You could have a new villain introduced in Deadpool 3, and he's the big bad now, and there's no Kang based off of how Loki ended, right? There's no loose ends with Kang, I guess, is my point.
Sure.
So the rumor is that they're moving away from Kang, moving away from the Kang Dynasty story. Jonathan Majors' trial for the assault charges starts on November 29th, so maybe they're just putting that on the back burner to see what happens, because the trial could go on for a while, right? I mean, we've seen trials go on for months. How do you feel about this?
One, sure. I mean, again, these are rumors,
right?
Put out by the super spy that shows up in all these covert meetings, it's lip service to a degree.
Yeah.
They got to put something out. They got to stay relevant. They got to stay on top of the waves or whatever. So there's that aspect. Just to have people talk about something is one of my thoughts, right? Whether it's true or not. What you said about Loki's positioning,
yeah,
I can see that. They could play it any kind of way,
right?
So that's good. The fact that this trial is going on as long as it is, I don't want to dumb it down or simplify it. That there's people got hurt on both sides, or however that worked out, or however it's going to work out.
Yeah.
But this just seems like a long time for something that probably shouldn't have taken this long,
right?
To come to trial. I don't know why there's a trial in the first place.
Yeah.
Because the girl tried to, not or said that he didn't do whatever he did.
I think
I don't know how it was working out.
There's other victims, alleged victims that worked with the DA.
Yeah.
And the trial is about what that group collectively have said. I believe that's
wow.
Yeah. So it's I guess it's more, allegedly more to it than this one off situation, which again we don't know.
Right. They are putting more into this, what could happen with Jonathan Majors, than they are in the movies, the stupid movies that they're producing now. We're getting these shit movies. Pivot away from all this crap, and focus on making good movies. We don't care who shows up in the movies.
Right.
Just make good movies.
Exactly.
take Jonathan Majors out, take Kang out, do whatever. There's plenty of other supervillains that we can pluck out of Marvel Universe but just make the good movie.
Just like make your decision already, right? Like, listen, if you're gonna remove them, hey, you're Disney. It's your studio. Do whatever you want. Like, will some fans not agree with the move? Of course.
Yep.
But they're going to not agree anyways, right? There's going to be a percentage that doesn't agree with whatever you do. So just make the decision instead of just sitting here in limbo.
Right. I mean, you made that abortion of a movie Flash / Batman / Wonder Woman / Supergirl.
Right.
You made that movie without caring, and you know what the audience thought about.
Yeah.
Just remove, like you said, remove Jonathan Majors. Let's move on. There's plenty of who care. Kang anyway. Who is he in the grand scheme of things? Right. He's so far out there, right? Nobody really knows who he is or was unless he was introduced. There's so many more down to earth, closer, characters that people know about. You don't need to go and reach into a pocket universe to pick some villain that's nobody really knows or cares about anyway.
Yeah. And the good thing is, hey, if you don't want to mess with Majors right now because of what's going on, put it on the back burner, right? Introduce someone else. We're not saying we're never going to hit the Kang story because we've already proven Jonathan Majors is great at portraying Kang.
Right.
But if you don't feel comfortable with him in that role right now, put it on the back burner. Do your other story for 5-6 years. And, hey, he comes out of it great. You feel good about it, slide him back in. You don't like the outcome, leave him out there.
Yep.
Because to your point, I mean, Kang has shown up in Ant-Man Quantumania, who, like me and 6 other people went to go see. Okay? And then we saw He Who Remains in the Loki show, but it's another variant. And the way that ended, that story's ended. There's no more He Who Remains there.
Right.
Victor Timely never gets the TVA book. He's just messing around with his little chemicals, and he's going to grow up, be a happy man.
Put him on the shelf with Secret Invasion.
There you go.
And Gaia. Please put Gaia on the shelf.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right, well, that's our news. I was thinking, Adrian, we're doing Buster for a while. I don't think we've had many Busters lately. I'm going to just recap the articles one by one, and you and I both will say if we think this is a good piece of news or a bad piece of news. We'll give it a thumbs up or thumb down. So, Taika Waititi is not going to direct Thor 5. I give this a thumbs up. I'm good.
Thumbs up. I'm good.
Marvel rumored to be backing away from Kang.
Don't care, really.
Yeah,
I really don't care.
I give that a thumbs down. I just want them to stop talking about it.
Exactly.
I'll give that a thumbs down. Marvel may bring back Endgame directors.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Spider-Man 4 may bring Sony's universe into the MCU.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Sentry coming to the MCU. I'm going thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs down. Nobody knows who he is, really.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares.
No.
Because I think people are going to be thinking, that's Superman. Oh,
yeah,
Superman.
exactly.
Oh, that's Superman. I mean, he has some other abilities, too. I guess he's like psionic abilities or something. But and then Stephen Yeun, I'm not feeling it.
Unless he bulk say he's got to get on Hugh Jackman's old diet,
Right.
And then the Madam Web movie coming out in February. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and go thumbs up.
I can agree. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It looks like it has the potential to introduce some other characters that we haven't seen, which is cool. Which I'm always a fan of.
Right.
Batman is cool, but 1 million versions of him is probably a little much. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And I think I like some of the cast. I think Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson will do great. Remains to be seen.
You know me, it's like bring out the new people, give the new actors some leeway, an opportunity, and stop resurrecting these crypt keepers and stuff.
Yep, no doubt. All right, well there it is. That's our News Flash Buddy segment. Now, Adrian, we have your segment, Hidden Gem. Now you've been doing this now, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 weeks or so.
Right.
And I think so far there's been one. Last week you had week before you had Jocasta,
right?
Who I never heard of. Now that one, when I saw the picture, I was like, I've seen this character. I have no idea who it is. When you sent me this morning, I thought it was just early and it was a typo, and maybe you sent me because it. I was like, is he talking about my computer or something? Like, what the hell? I've never heard of. Then I looked it up. I've never seen before. So I'm gonna assume that most of the audience is gonna be, on my side this week. Never heard of this, so I'm interested, man. I'm ready. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Adrian.
All right.
Hidden Gem. What do we got?
So this week, this character was introduced to me, not introduced to me. I saw this character intertwined with the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a toy somewhere when I was a kid, so and played with that.
Yeah.
So this character started out as a toy that was kind of popular, and then, but of course, when Star Wars and all this other kind of stuff, space toys just boomed.
Yeah.
During that period. So this week's hidden gem is ROM. ROM is a character made by a toy company that became I think a magazine, and then got picked up by Marvel as a character. But of course, there's so many things that happen in Marvel's universe, by universe, not the MCU, but just this sphere of comics, right? This person has the rights to this, and that person has the right to that. There's another hidden gem that I'm just going to kind of throw it out there. The Micronauts. I don't know if you even heard of them.
I've heard of them. I don't know what they are, though.
Well, the Micronauts are like the Avengers of the miniature world. So,
okay.
So, what's the universe? What's the world that Ant-Man goes into?
Quantum realm.
Okay. Well, the microverse is what the quantum realm is based off of, but they can't use microverse, so they came up with the quantum realm.
Is microverse DC?
No,
it's its own thing.
Microverse and quantum realm is all Marvel.
Oh, microverse is Marvel.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the Micronauts, don't want to go too into them. They're like the Avengers of the quantum realm or the microverse.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother segment. So anyway, ROM, they were a race of people. That was invaded by a wraith-like, an advanced race.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Skrulls. They were shape-shifting, but they also had like mystic powers.
Okay.
Right? So they were going around, killing everybody, doing whatever. And so this planet created these space knights, which are basically cyborgs. So they took parts of their bodies, and they were told that, once all this is over with, then we'll make you whole human again.
Yeah.
So they made these space knights. They're like 7 feet tall, right? So they took body parts out, put them into these mechanical bodies, and they went out and gave them, guns and rockets and all this other kind of stuff. And they go out to fight the Wraith. And so they go around. They're pretty successful and getting rid of them. But Rom, he's like, I'm gonna stay this space knight until they're just eradicated.
Okay.
He ends up following them back to their Wraith world, and the Wraith, they got scared and basically abandoned their whole planet, which means that Rom was responsible for making them disperse throughout the universe.
Oh, shit.
Right? So now he's pretty much never going to become human again.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that he convinced, like, I think another it was like 100 of them or 1,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
They all got, so these space knights, they got their own suits, their own powers, their own names. Every one of them look different.
Yeah.
Right. And so they join on Rom's quest to go out and eradicate the Wraith throughout wherever they existed.
Got it.
So, floating around in space for 200 years, right? He ended up on Earth in Virginia somewhere.
Yeah.
And of course, now the Wraith is there. So that's how he got, intertwined with the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, and that's how I saw him.
Okay.
Because he was with the X-Men.
Yeah.
And those were pretty popular comics back then with the Wraith involved in him.
What era are we talking? 70s, 80s, 90s?
He came out in 79, I think.
Okay.
So 80s.
Yep.
You
found him in the early 80s?
Yeah, I found him. So probably 83, 84, 85,
Gotcha.
somewhere around in there.
Okay.
So pretty cool. I thought it was cool that he came from the the toy world.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so he had like the little flashing lights, and his laser gun would flash, and had the rocket pack on him. So it was pretty cool. He's basically being a cyborg. Obviously he can fly through space with the rocket pack. Super strength.
Yeah.
The metal that they use to make the bodies, planetanium or something like that. Supposedly almost as hard, if not as hard as adamantium.
Okay.
Right. So, and it would have to be, right? He's flying through space and all this other kind of stuff. But his ray gun, people thought that initially his ray gun was killing people.
Yeah.
But it was actually moving them to like a phantom zone kind of a place.
Almost like being pruned in Loki.
Right.
Yep.
So it would move you into a phantom zone kind of area where the Wraith could never get out.
Gotcha.
So he was actually he was hunted.
Yeah.
On Earth, because people thought that he was actually killing things, because the Wraith would come down and they would impersonate people.
Yeah.
And so he had this special analyzer that he could look at a Wraith and determine whether they're human or not.
Yeah.
Or determine whatever they're trying to duplicate.
Gotcha.
So obviously on other worlds, there's not going to be humans. They be some other kind of race that the Wraith would turn themselves into. But this analyzer could determine whether they were that species.
It's like a Blade Runner, Terminator-esque type of character almost.
Yes. So I thought he was pretty cool. I was looking at like what kind of characters. I was actually looking for some DC characters to pull out for the Hidden Gem, but they're so sorry, dude. I mean, I'm gonna go into them. There's one that I'm gonna pull out.
Yeah.
But probably next week I'll pull out a DC.
Okay.
One.
So next week.
But
DC.
This week is Rom, and I just thought he was a cool character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Marvel can't do anything with him because again, it's like the Sony Marvel thing.
Shit,
yeah, the licensing thing. Because I think Mattel still owns the rights to Rom, but Marvel owns the rights to Rom the comic.
Yeah.
But they can't. So they've done some things that kind of look like Rom, but they can't use his obviously his entire likeness or the name. Yeah. So which is we get the short end of the stick. We the characters, the characters. We the fans get the short end of the stick because of these licensing things that they got going on in the background. Right. Which is the same thing that's happening with the microverse, and all these other kind of characters.
Spider-Man shit. Yep. Yeah.
So.
Wow. But no, that's cool. So you had the toy as a kid.
Yep.
Rom.
Yep.
Yeah. And just hearing like you explain the whole him kind of almost pruning the Wraith, like that would be that's an easy movie setup.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because this guy could be dropped and they could think he's a villain at first, and he's just a robot kind of in the shadows. To your point, they're shape shifting, so they look like humans, and he's just wiping them out as they think, but he's really not. I mean, dude, I think about Terminator, Blade Runner, those types of movies. You could make a movie in that vein with him as a main villain, for the first movie. Right.
I mean, even the Transformers. Transformers, those were a popular set of movies. Yeah. Until Shia LaBeouf did whatever he did. Yeah. And What's-Her-Face got out of it. It's amazing that they try to get somebody that looks exactly like the person that they got rid of.
Yeah.
Who's the girl? Megan Fox?
Megan Fox, yeah.
Yeah. They try to replace her with the blonde with the crazy lips or whatever.
Yep.
So after that, it just kind of went downhill.
I've not seen the newer ones.
There's new ones.
Yeah, there's one that just came out. They
the
Beast Wars
or whatever.
Which I love Beast Wars as a kid. The little animated comic or animated show they had in the mornings. I've not checked it out. I've heard that the latest one is better. But dude, they made so many. Like I saw the first 3 and then I stopped.
There's more than 4.
Dude, there's like 5 or 6 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Then there's Bumblebee, which is like a prequel. I don't know if it's a reboot or not, but it's funny because I do remember in the first Transformers, they acted as if that was the first time they were here on Earth.
Right.
And then now all of a sudden there's a Bumblebee prequel that, predates that. So who the hell knows?
Right. I think in one of them, probably the third one, apparently the Transformers had been here on Earth before because they found something.
Yes, that's right. You're right.
It's all kind of good. But anyway, so Rom could go down that same kind of road.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's not 30 feet tall or whatever, however tall the Transformers are. But so 7 foot tall dude, right? Yeah. Decked out in all metal and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think it could work.
Yeah, and you could even do something fun where, that old story that we've seen a dozen times where kid finds something from space and now it's like the Terminator thing, not really from space, but another timeline. Mm-hmm. He's now the protector of this kid for some reason.
Right.
You could do a lot with a character like this.
Yeah.
And to your point, we've seen the Transformers on screen, and this, it could be built in a similar style. Mm-hmm. So who knows? But yeah, that's a pretty cool story.
It's also crazy. It's like, so this beef between Marvel and the toy manufacturer, right? Mattel or whatever, whoever's holding the thing in the background. It's like, so you'd rather not have your character come out and be seen and make some money off of it. You rather that happen than to make a little money off of it, and then you and your toy company blow up. I mean, they could do some kind of co-licensing, co-brand, whatever, right? And then they both win. Right. But no, I'd rather just hold on to my little thing. Now, like you said, you've never even heard of this character before. So in obscurity for 40 years, we'd rather that happen than to give you the right to make a movie.
Well, and this is where, I think Sony was smart because you talk about the licensing. We were talking about this in the Newsflash segment. Sony has the license for Spider-Man.
Right.
Marvel wanted Spider-Man in the MCU. They negotiated a deal where you give us Spider-Man for Civil War, then you will let you make a Spider-Man movie, but it has to take place in the MCU. Now I'm paraphrasing, summing it up, right? And if someone that's not exactly how it went. I know. Relax. We're not experts here. But Sony basically caved in and said, sure, we'll do this. Right. And then if you remember, before Spider-Man 3, well, not Spider-Man 3, No Way Home was released, Sony kind of pulled back. They said no more. The agreement was up. I think it was for the first 2 movies or something like that. And they renegotiated because at that point, Sony initially said, no, we're going to do our own Spider-Man movies. And a lot of the fan base was pissed. But they worked it out to where they would do the one more No Way Home, and that would act as almost like a reset. So I think this news about Spider-Man 4 having the other Venomverse included, I think there's truth to that.
Right.
But they were smart about it, to your point, because they could have not had Spider-Man on screen. Mm-hmm. They could have done their own Spider-Man movies, which would have never done as well as we've seen what they did with Venom.
Right.
It would never done as well as the MCU stuff.
Yep.
So instead, they caved. They let Marvel. They played nice, and look at all the damn money they made with those 3 Spider-Man movies.
Exactly.
And then some.
Right. Because what's going to happen is Marvel's going to come up with a version of some character anyway.
Exactly.
So with the microverse, and that whole play, they came up with their own names for the same stuff, and they pulled in their own characters. So they're gonna figure out a way to do it anyway. So whatever.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Another great hidden gem, Adrian. You got me twice now. 2 times. I had no idea who you were talking about. All right. Next up, our segment called Agree to Disagree. This is where I rapid fire 10 of my opinions at Adrian, and he tells me if he agrees or disagrees simply. And then we will maybe discuss, if he disagrees, we'll discuss those afterwards. But my favorite part, Adrian, is when we find out what all these guys say.
Yeah.
What all the fans out there, because they don't always agree. Sometimes they don't even agree to disagree. They get upset. Right. It's like, these just our opinions,
Hey.
And then they act like their opinion's a fact. Like, you don't know how opinions work. But anyway, so I got 10 this week, Adrian. I'm going to rapid fire them.
Okay.
And you're going to say agree or disagree.
Let's do it.
All right, number 1. The Marvels was better than Blue Beetle.
Wow.
Starting off hot, dude.
The Marvels was better than Blue Beetle. Let's go back to that one.
All right. So you disagree?
I don't disagree, but I don't agree either. Let me ponder.
All right, you want me to come back to that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like Family Feud. We'll come back to that.
Yep.
All right. Madam Web will be better than Venom 1 and 2.
Pretty much anything would be better than. I'm probably was The Flash better than Venom 1 and 2? Yes, I agree.
Okay, you agree. It's funny you said that. My number 3, The Flash was better than the Eternals.
Wow, dude, you got me thinking this week.
I know.
Let me see, garbage. The Flat. Yes, I agree.
Nick Fury was wasted in the Marvels.
Agree.
The Boys is better than any Marvel or DC show. Period.
The Boys is better than any Marvel movie or show.
Just show.
Marvel. Agree.
Okay. Wolverine over Cyclops.
Wolverine always.
Marvel should have recasted T'Challa.
Agree.
Sonyverse needs a Spider-Man.
Agree.
Marvel characters are better than DC characters.
Agree.
I'm going to go by. Actually, no. We have the best hat game on TikTok.
We do have the best hat game. I agree.
And we're going back to the first one, Adrian. The Marvels was better than Blue Beetle.
I'll say yes.
Okay.
I'll say yes.
All right. Were there any disagrees this week? I think Flash better than Eternals. You did say yes.
Yep.
All right. No, we're 10 for 10, Adrian.
All right. So let's go back to the Flash and the Eternals. Right? Okay. Do you know how bad for me to say that the Flash is better than the Eternals? You know how bad the Eternals got to be.
Yes.
It wasn't just a bad movie. It was the disappointment also around, because that could have been so much more than what it was. And to waste Salma Hayek in that movie, Angelina Jolie. I mean, it was just bad.
Yeah.
I don't think the Black Knight wrap up was good at the end.
No. What was your main issue? Because that came out well before we did this show. I've only seen it once. You know what's funny? I tried to watch it again recently.
Right.
And I was like, I don't remember. I remember the movie being bad. I'm like, I don't remember it being this boring. It's just a boring fucking movie. Like, so what was your main issue with it?
They have. Again, this is it's not just the acting. I think the acting was okay.
Yeah.
It's just that they didn't portray their power sets, I think, properly.
Because they're supposed to be almost God level.
Right. They've been around for a long time, and they turn out to be just literally reproduction. They're like assembly line superheroes.
Right.
They just happen to have been around for a while.
Yep.
So it just the power set. I think the biggest thing was the power set portrayal. They could have did so much better with that. The chick that was fast, she was my favorite out of all of them.
I forget her name, but
so and just I think it's mostly just the power sets.
Yeah.
And it just didn't jive enough for me.
It felt off. Right?
Yeah, it just felt off.
Yeah.
The guy, the Superman like guy,
yeah,
he could have done so much more.
Is that Icarus?
I don't know what his name was.
I don't even know their names. Even when you're naming the power set, I'm like this movie, it's like it went in one
exactly
and out the other one.
Exactly.
Like
it's like you walking out the movie like vomiting up the movie just to get it out your system because you want to be done with it.
Yep.
So.
And I honestly want to watch it because I don't remember it. Like I got the Marvel MCU timeline book.
Right.
One, I don't know if you got yours yet.
I got it.
So in the beginning of it, and I've not read much of it, but they talk a lot about the Celestials and how the Marvel universe was created. And I'm like, well, the only movie that talks about any of that is the Eternals, right? So I'm like, I want to hear that background again, and I'm like, but I started watching this movie, bro. I got like 20 minutes into it, and I couldn't do it anymore. I had to turn it off and watch something else. I almost would rather watch The Flash.
Right?
Like, if you said, the jail cell question, and, hey, you're locked in a cell until you watch one of these movies, dude, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd watch The Flash 3 times before I'd watch The Eternals.
Yeah. I think it was the power set portrayal. the waste of the talent that was in it, and it just you don't know, like, you're in a bad part of town, you don't know the area, you just feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This movie just felt not right. Not off, just not right.
Like
I don't know how to explain that.
No, it felt like it wasn't part of the MCU. It just felt like it's its own thing, and why is this even happening right now? Right. I will say that I think the gold CGI, the power, and I know you say the power set wasn't portrayed properly, which I agree. I think the look of some of the stuff was cool.
Yes.
It was very unique looking. Right. Which they could have done a lot more with. So it's like they had that going for them. They had a lot going for them, and they really fumbled the bag pretty bad.
Right. It's like watching, you look at a person, right? And you wonder why you're looking at this person. They have a lot of beautiful, it's like you look at a face, right? Yeah. And the face has beautiful eyes, a beautiful nose, perfect lips, but it's just off.
Yeah.
It just, that doesn't make, beautiful features doesn't make a beautiful person.
Right.
Symmetry makes a beautiful person.
Yeah.
But you're looking at this person, it's like the eyes perfect, the nose perfect, the lips perfect, the skin perfect, but just something about how it's put together makes it look like odd. Yeah. And that's how this movie was.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it any other way.
No, it's like you got a pizza with all your favorite toppings, but then someone put mushrooms on it. And you're like, really, dude? Really? And they're all over it, though. And you're like, you want to just eat the bacon pizza.
Right.
But for some reason, there's mushrooms on it. I don't know.
Speaking of mushrooms, where's the candy corn?
Oh, I got rid of that, dude. I couldn't. Even looking at it make me want to vomit. So it's like, nope, not gonna do it. Wow. All right. So last segment this week, so we got something a little different planned for you all. And it's actually a follow up to an agree to disagree that got some hate online. Okay. So I said a couple weeks ago that Logan was a better movie than The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. You agreed.
Yep.
And a lot of the universe does not agree.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to get into a discussion because I want people – sometimes people say this about us, Adrian. Mm-hmm. They say we're awesome. No, they do say that. But what they also say is that you guys just say stuff like you come up with these hot takes just to get people going, right? Like almost accusing us of lying.
Okay.
So I wanted to and I'll tell you one thing about any of these opinions. I may change my opinion next week. I definitely. There was a video a couple weeks ago. Some dude's like, "Didn't he say the opposite last week?" Like, yes, I did. I definitely did. I did say that WandaVision was better than Loki, and then Loki season 2 dropped, and now I say I put Loki above WandaVision.
Right.
I did say that.
Okay.
This one I'm not going to change my mind on. As a comic book movie. Now I will start this and say that I love both of these movies. Yep. Okay. Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies, and so is Logan. But I think Logan was a better movie, a better story told. I think it had a more of an impact. And so I stand behind that. A lot of the audience does not agree. Mm-hmm. You still, before we get into discussion, you still agree with that statement?
Let's walk through it, and then I'll tell you if I change.
Okay.
I'll tell you if I change my mind. Because now we've seen so much content. I'm just struggling trying to remember. Let me see, The Dark Knight and Logan. Okay, I got Logan.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull up some for The Dark Knight, and then we can get into it.
All right, cool. Well, let's start with Dark Knight then. So we got Dark Knight. Now Christian Bale's your favorite Batman,
yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Is he your favorite Bruce Wayne too?
My favorite Bruce Wayne. Well, that's kind of a stretch because now we have a range of Bruce Waynes.
We do. It's a bunch, right? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you who's not my favorite. Michael Keaton is not my favorite Bruce Wayne. George Clooney is not my favorite Bruce Wayne. So we got who we have left?
Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson.
Ben Affleck, Robert Pattinson.
He don't really count though.
Yeah, Val Kilmer, that don't count like at all. Because so now you got Robert Pattinson year 1, year 2. So that's the early Bruce Wayne.
Right.
So he's not even that Bruce Wayne that we understand.
Exactly.
Right? He's not that playboy kind of.
Which I think he will be eventually.
Right. Eventually he'll be that, but he's not there yet. And so, I would say, yeah, probably.
If not, he's in your top, like maybe 2 or
right.
whatever.
Because I'm saying yes because he's based in what we understand Bruce Wayne is.
Yep.
Not the early dude, not the old dude. So in that peak,
we've seen
guy.
more of that type of Bruce Wayne in the comics. Like,
correct.
I just rewatched not the third one. I just rewatched Batman Begins and Dark Knight recently.
Right.
And I will say, as much as I give his Batman portrayal a lot of shit because of the stupid voice and the little, he's like the Donald Trump. I feel like he's about the American people. I feel like he's gonna do that, and it's the way he does the lip thing. I don't know. That's probably my own issue. But I will say there are some aspects to his Bruce Wayne which I really love, and it is true to comics, and I like when he plays that fake playboy, and I say fake because if you watch him, he'll dump out the drinking. He's pretending, you know. So I think, but his Batman. Now I give his voice a lot of shit, but I like Christian Bale as an actor. I think he's phenomenal. So I mean, and then Dark Knight. I was gonna throw this in the agree to disagree, and I forgot. But Michael Caine to me is the best Alfred actor.
I do agree with that.
Like,
I definitely agree with
down,
that.
dude.
Yep.
And then Gary Oldman's Jim Gordon, phenomenal.
Yep.
I don't think I'd like to see a more truer to comic depiction at some point.
Right.
Like, they definitely changed him a lot for this movie.
Sure.
But at least he looked the part, you know.
Right.
It's funny because Jeffrey Wright's, you know, we talked about him in the Batman, and I'm not sold on that one yet. But so I mean, all in all, I mean, you have Harvey Dent's Two-Face origin story, which was handled very well. I think my biggest issue, as much as I love The Dark Knight, is I'll say this: if you remove Heath Ledger from that movie, it's not as good as a movie.
Right.
To me, it's more of a Joker movie almost than a Batman movie. Joker seems like the main star. He outshines Christian Bale, in my opinion.
I agree, and everybody, you know, praised you know, him for playing that role in the Joker. So I agree with that. It's almost like the opposite of like the Flash movie. Yeah. It's like it's not a Flash movie, it's a Batman movie.
Right.
This was like you know, it's a Joker movie, not a Batman movie.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. But Gary Oldman playing what's his face?
Gordon.
I agree with Gordon. Yep. That was a good portrayal. And that's, again, like you said, it's not about whether they were true to life Gordon, but they were closer than the other portrayals. You know, that kind of thing.
And honestly, I mean, I guess it's tough too because when we say closer, we're thinking of the stories we like. Because Jim Gordon, there's different portrayals in the comics. You go to early Batman comics, Jim Gordon was just like a clown almost, right? Like not a Joker clown, but like, you know, he just was half like a buffoon. And then, you know, you get into like the Long Halloween and stories like that where they made him this like really good detective. He has a military background. He's a badass. I mean, in year one, he beats the shit out of the cop that was fucking with him. Like, you know, so when I say I'm thinking of that Jim Gordon, which you're right. The Gary Oldman one was closer to that.
So, I mean, and me, like being older, you know, I got 30, 40 years of these characters. So over time, I create this idea of what these people are. And that's why I have such, when I say actor portrayal, I got 40 years of comics, you know, in my head. And I'm thinking about, well, that person doesn't even look like a Superman or look like a Batman, you know, things like that. So I can swing on, you know, a younger version or an older version, but the prime version of these characters, I mean, they, you know, Marvel, DC, they miss by a lot on some of these actor portrayals.
Absolutely. But now in this, I'd say, I mean, you know, Heath Ledger nailed the Joker portrayal. I really liked, I forget the actor's name, the one who plays Harvey Dent in Two-Face. I really liked his portrayal in this. I thought that was a good character arc.
The dude with the cleft?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Now, again, he was not really true to the Harvey Dent in the comics. And even the Two-Face, it was, you know, and this, I think partly due to this is Christopher Nolan, and his movies he wanted as based in reality as they could be for a comic book story, right? Like Two-Face is not going to live for years with a half-burnt face. I mean, this is going to be a couple days and he's done. Like this is, you know, it's meant to be, hey, if this were to take place in the real world, right? Now Logan this is comic book world. This is, I mean, you know, he's Wolverine, claws popping out, his health regenerates, the whole deal. So it takes place in a different universe. I think, you know, I love The Dark Knight. I thought for a crime thriller type of movie, like it's almost, you almost don't look at it as a comic book movie.
Right.
It stands alone as a movie, just a regular movie.
Yeah, it's almost like this could actually happen because it happens between like regular people,
right,
with some tools, with access to, you know, better tools than normal people have access to. And Wolverine is more, you know, more fantasy, than reality. But
from a start, I mean, I thought the story was great, you know, in both. But I guess the reason why I say Logan over The Dark Knight, I feel like now both these movies I think kind of redefine what you could do with a comic movie. But I think Logan did that at a higher level. Okay. First of all, it was rated R, right? We've not seen a real rated R movie with a character that popular. Blade was rated R, but Blade's vampire-ish. Like, I didn't even know Blade was a Marvel character until years later.
Right.
And then prior to that, I don't think there was another real rated R, you know, comic movie. They took a main, I mean, Wolverine's popular as the Iron Mans, the Batmans, right? And the story, the emotional, like how it tied and pulled from some of the X-Men movies, but also worked as a standalone. And then just the emotion behind that story with him, the daughter, and then, I mean, he dies at the end. Like, it was...
Xavier going through what he was going through.
Oh my God.
I mean, that was like there was so the Batman was any kind of action-packed movie.
Yeah.
It was relatable, so on and so forth. Wolverine was the heartstrings. It was like, you know, you don't want to see Xavier in that condition that he was in. So that was kind of like, oh my God, you know, grandpa's dying. It's, you know, some shit like that.
Yeah.
Then the daughter, she's doing what she's doing, and then of course Wolverine dies at the end.
Right.
So it was it was more emotional than Dark Knight. Dark Knight was just, okay, this is a bank robbery.
Right.
You know, Wolverine was like, wow, you know, it was a range of stuff, but I don't think a lot of people expected to have their, you know, to go through the range of emotion that they went through as well. So
absolutely, dude. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was tearing up at the end of Wolverine. You know, like with the daughters calling him daddies, dying, all this shit. I'm like, the hell. You know, I wasn't happening with Dark Knight. I love Dark Knight, but yeah, I agree. The emotionality behind this movie and the character arcs. I mean, yes, you know, Dark Knight. They had, I mean, the Joker and you talk about Two-Face's arc and whatnot, but. This was a lot more character-driven for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Logan went through an entire arc in that movie from in the beginning, just really wanting to, like, he was done with everything. Like, fuck everybody, dude. I'm just trying to live out my life, retire, take care of this dude until he dies, and then go retire on a boat somewhere.
Right.
He wanted nothing to do with any type of hero shit, saving anyone. And then this girl, and it's so true to the Logan character. Like, in the comic, Wolverine's grumpy. Right. Like, he's that... I mean, he's the old dad who's just annoyed at everything. Dude, leave me the fuck alone.
Exactly.
You know, and we got to see that on screen. Even with this, like, it took a lot for him to even take this girl in and help her.
Right.
And he still didn't believe her along the way. You know?
I don't know. I think that also I don't like to see certain things in movies. So one of the emotions, I don't know about the crime like you did. But, but one of the things I did do is get pissed off because I don't like to see, again, 40 years of comics, right? And I don't like to see, like, Nick Fury fat and, like, hobbling around a space station, you know, taking care of cats. You know, I didn't like to see Xavier because these characters never die.
Right.
And when they die, or some ailment happens where, like, Xavier is one of the more powerful mutants, you know, telepathically. And now he's going through this mental crap that he's going through. So that kind of pissed me off.
Got it.
So I didn't expect that, which is also good.
Yeah.
You know, a bank robbery with the Dark Knight, you expect bank robberies.
Yeah, you're not surprised that the movie's starting that way.
But to see Xavier, like, shriveled all up, and I mean, what's his face is getting. I mean, he's like real old.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart. Yeah.
Patrick Stewart, he's like real. Loved him as in Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I was pissed off to see that.
Okay.
Just like I was pissed off to see Nick Fury doing what he was doing, besides the fact that he was wasted in the Marvels.
Yeah, exactly. Not like literally wasted. It actually would be better if he was wasted that way than wasted the way they wasted him.
Right.
So, yeah, but I actually like that. Now, have you ever read Old Man Logan, the comic line? So that's what this was based on. So it's based on, years in the future where I think most of the mutants are gone or whatnot.
Right. And I've seen bits of it.
Yeah. And I would say this is one where this is what I like when this is done properly on screen, where they take a story from the comics and it inspires the story. It's not a carbon copy of it, but it's also not a, hey, let's take it and just keep this small piece and change everything else. Like they hit the right beats from this story. It was much different than the comic story, but they took the best parts from it and incorporated into this film. And actually, I would say this is one where I think the movie's better than the comic, but the comics are great. It's almost like Civil War, where the comic was great, but I think the movie was better. And I would say the same about Old Man. That's one. I mean, we did so far. The only comics we reviewed have been Batman comics. That's a line where I think it's maybe 6-7 issues. That's one we could review, do a deep dive here. That'd be cool since we both seen both. But but I think they pulled from it great, and I also like that. Like what you said, there were some things that were unexpected, and it's hard to especially, with all the comic content we've consumed in our lives, it's hard to go into a comic book movie and be surprised nowadays.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it, like I'm joking about the, he who was right, I predicted the finale. Yeah, I mean, it's not that impressive. We watch a lot of shit. A lot of times you're just like, oh, I know exactly where that's going, because I read it in this line, I heard it, I read the rumor, whatever, or that's just like this other movie.
Right.
But having things that are unexpected, I think Logan did better than The Dark Knight.
Is that a setup for failure for us because we've consumed so much that nothing is unexpected in a movie?
Maybe.
Is that possible?
Do you think so? We're sabotaging our own selves here. We're self-sabotaging ourselves.
I don't know, dude.
I don't know. No, I think that's on them. I think they should still be able to surprise us.
Speaking of Batman, so Wolverine is one of those real popular characters.
Yep.
Right? Matter of fact, he and Batman have the popularity thing. Not he and Batman. He and Batman has again. So Superman and Batman.
Yep.
It's like Batman is the most popular in DC.
Yep.
Even over Superman.
Yes, I agree.
Right? So Wolverine is like the Batman in Marvel Universe. I don't know if there's someone that's like, oh no, this person is more popular than Wolverine. Wolverine is
Spider-Man, maybe.
No. Wolverine is the man in Marvel. So, Batman. You know how we have all these different ages of Batman? You have the Batman animated. We have all of this stuff. We have all these different movies. He's in this universe. He's in that universe. They could do a lot with Wolverine.
Yes.
Right? First of all, we don't really know how old Wolverine is.
No.
I know they did this one movie where he and Sabretooth were like brothers or something like
Through
that.
all the wars.
Yeah, they're going through all the wars, but we don't really know how old Wolverine is or how long he can last. Right? But we also haven't gone into all of Wolverine's adventures. Like he spent some time in Japan. I would love to see a movie about that era of him being, over there. Because the only love besides Jean Grey that they ever mentioned with Wolverine is the girl in Japan. Yeah. Right? So that'd be interesting. So they can make a lot of movies about Wolverine, not just, him being old and dead.
Right.
So
absolutely.
So that's the relevance to the Batman stuff. They do so much stuff with Batman. They can do so much stuff with Wolverine. And it wouldn't get old.
No. No, you're right. They're just scratching the surface.
Yep.
Now we did see a little bit of that Japanese story you're talking about in the second Wolverine movie, The Wolverine. But I think the ending of that was so bad that it ruined it. That was not a bad movie, but that super-sized Silver Samurai character,
They messed it up with that.
It got way too much, dude. Right. Like, the build-up was pretty good. You remember when he dug in and pulled the thing off his heart? I mean, that little thing that was, like, draining his power and shit. Like, that was, and there were some really cool fight scenes. I mean, I love when he throws the guy off the balcony, and the girl's like, how'd you know there was a pool there? It's like, I didn't. Like, so that was cool. But again, that's the one of those things that I hate seeing in the comic book movies is when the hero loses his powers.
Right.
Like we always had, like, he can't use the webs, or the green guy can't come out because Hulk having his own version of ED. Like, come on, we really need to do this.
Exactly.
So I think to me that ruined that Wolverine movie.
Yeah. But and you're right. We did say a little bit of that, but there's so much behind. Like another thing is like, how did Wolverine learn how to fight? Mm-hmm. We know how Batman learned how to fight.
Right. Yeah.
He went out on a quest.
Yep.
In prison and this and that, and that's how he learned this stuff. But Wolverine, how did he learn to do what he does? Why is most of his stuff Japanese kind of related? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think they could do a lot with him, especially since he's lived through so many eras.
Right.
They can do like a timeline kind of thing. So I think it'll be interesting.
Dude, especially with all this time travel shit they're doing now.
Right.
I mean, how is he not, like, why is that character not one of the lead characters for this story? I mean, I know they're rumored that the Hugh Jackman version is going to be for Secret Wars and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that would make sense, because to your point, you could drop, and you could use the same actor, because Wolverine doesn't really age.
Right.
He's looked like he's 45, 50 years old for his entire life almost, right?
Yep.
So you could take Hugh Jackman and pop into any timeline and use him.
Exactly.
I mean, like this Loki show, you could do that type of story with Wolverine.
Right.
But yeah, these two going back and forth, I still stand behind Logan for all of those reasons. And it's not a slight. It's like, just because I say Logan's better doesn't mean I don't like Dark. Like, I'm talking, Logan's here and Dark Knight's,
right
over here. I mean, I would put the Batman above Dark Knight now. I know you wouldn't, but but I think it's for that. I think the brutality in that movie, like one of the best scenes. That's the first time we've really saw this Berserker rage. You talking about all these different Wolverine stories,
right?
Wolverine goes Berserker in a lot of comics,
yep,
animated series, movies, and whatnot. Mm-hmm. The only time we've really seen it in live action was at the end of Logan.
Right.
When he injects himself with the, steroids and just kills everyone.
Yeah.
That's a badass scene.
Yeah. I mean, just for clarity, he doesn't need to inject himself to go Berserker.
Right.
And it's interesting. Sabretooth, he's always in Berserker mode. He's always, and that would even be something like just a comedy relief that Sabretooth shows up in a Wolverine movie on his birthday, kicks his ass,
and leaves.
Right, and then just leaves.
Yeah,
because that's what he does.
Yep.
Every year he finds Wolverine for his birthday, kicks his ass, and then leaves.
Yeah, dude. I'd like to see the big, like in X-Men the animated series. If you remember, Wolverine was small, and stocky and jacked, and Sabretooth was a freaking monster, dude.
Yep.
And I love that portrayal of Sabretooth there. I want to see that on screen.
I still to this day think that the guy that played Homelander would have been the perfect Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because he's got that look anyway, and he's a short dude.
Yeah.
Right? So, anyway.
So is he wearing, like, platforms when he's playing Homelander? He's got to
that, or everybody around him. It's like Tom Cruise. They cast short people around him.
Right.
Kind of
or he stands on a box.
Or he stands on a box.
Yeah. Like Bruno Mars in his videos. No offense to any short kings out there. We love y'all too. So anyway, but yeah, I stand behind this. Logan over Dark Knight. So now that we've gone through it a little bit, are you still on this? Do you still agree that Logan's a better movie than Dark Knight?
Yes.
You do? Yeah.
Because of the depth of the movie, the range of the movie, the emotions involved in the movie.
Right.
The Dark Knight was just a bank robbery movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really, and again, you remove Joker from that, and it's a very entertaining movie. But even when I rewatch it now, dude, the parts I care about the most are Heath Ledger's parts.
Right.
Those don't get old.
Right.
The Batman voice gets worse every time I watch it, and the Joker parts remain just as good.
Right. The most iconic part was he's like, I got one position. He breaks the pool stick, throws it down. Whoever comes out, that's my guy.
Yeah, I love it. And if you look at screen time, like Joker's doesn't have as much screen time as a lot of other characters. It's just he makes the most of those minutes.
Right.
I mean, dude, from when he walks in with the, I'm gonna show you a magic trick with the pencil.
Yeah.
Slams the guy's head down.
Yep.
I mean, his delivery of those lines are great.
I agree.
You know, when he's fucking with Gamble, he's like, you know, poor little Gamble, you won't be here to get any, you know, money for his mom or whatever. He starts enough out of the clown, like,
right?
Or when he burns his half of the money,
right?
I'm only gonna burn my half. It just sets the shit on fire. And you know, we talk about pulling from the comics. Now that you've read The Long Halloween, you see a lot of that was incorporated into The Dark Knight. I mean, the scene with the money, it's a little different in the comics. Right. Remember, Two-Face or Harvey and Batman set the money on fire, but that was inspired right from those. So that stuff's really cool when you see stuff from the comics that makes it into a movie in its own way, you know.
What I like the most is that, again, I have my ideas about all these characters based off of 40 years of exposure to them, right? So, you know, you got some real highs and some real lows depending on who's drawing them, you know, the art style, the directors, all that kind of stuff. But over 40 years, I'm kind of like here, right? So that's why it pisses me off sometimes when I see stuff like, you know, this kid playing Flash and they just mess the whole movie up, or they do some kind of actor portrayal where it just doesn't make sense. You know, you got, you know, this chick playing, you know, Captain Marvel. That it doesn't make sense in my mind.
Yeah.
So it kind of pisses me off. But then you have like the Hugh Jackmans. You have the guy playing, you know, Captain America. So the actors and actresses playing the perfect roles were, and I'm just going to name the heroes: Superman, Cavill.
Yeah.
Captain America.
Yeah.
Whatever that guy was. Yeah. Now, Aquaman. Because they could not have pulled off the guy moving his feet. The old, you know, orange and green Aquaman.
Underwater Thor, pretty much.
Yeah. So that was horrible. Black Panther.
Yep, T'Challa.
Who else? Iron Man. Those people. And Batman, I'm still thinking Christian Bale.
Yeah.
The problem with Pattinson is that he was so iconic as Edward.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm still pulling off of that.
Yeah, you're still stuck on the Twilight series.
Right. I'm just him making that transition.
Yeah.
So I need some time with him. I'm not saying he did a bad job.
Yeah, it's almost unfair to include it because he's got one movie. Christian Bale, like, imagine judging Bale off of just Batman Begins. You'd be like, it was all right. You know?
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's hard to really make it. We got to see the other two.
Right. So, you know, but those characters were excellently portrayed by the actor.
Yeah.
You know, those were like perfect matches, and I think they can do that. They just choose not to. I don't know how that works. Favors, you know, all this other kind of stuff. I just think that, you know, sometimes they just have like the wrong person playing the actor. But what's his face playing the Joker? That was just, and you're right. He didn't have like a lot of screen time.
No,
but he killed it.
Yep.
In the time that he did, and people are still talking about him being the best Joker ever.
Yeah. Which who else you gonna put up there?
Right.
I mean, Jack Nicholson was great for his time.
Right.
But go rewatch that now and then watch The Dark Knight.
Really?
You're like, what is this guy, a joke? I mean, you can go back to, what was the guy with the Cesar Romero, the guy with the little mustache back in the Adam West Joker?
Right.
Now, he was a cool-looking Joker.
Yeah.
His face and the makeup and all that, especially back in the 60s. I mean, God.
The Riddler. I mean, all of that stuff kind of made sense back then.
Yes.
But, you know, these characters have also evolved, you know, not just the acting, but and then also their powers.
Yep.
You know, when they first came out, they could only do certain things. Like Superman was known as, you know, for faster than a speeding bullet and jump, you know, leaping tall buildings in single bound. You know, he was basically the Hulk power back then, you know, being able to just jump over stuff and run fast.
Yeah.
Now he can like shatter planets and all this other kind. So the powers evolved too. But the Adam West and, you know, that era, that was cool back then.
Yeah.
That was cool. The car.
Yeah.
That car is still one of my favorite cars. So the Adam West car and the Tumbler. Those are my favorite Batman cars. Yep.
I'd say the Tumbler and the new one, the Hot Rod.
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
Freaking beast of a muscle car.
It is. And the thing that I do like about this Batman portrayal is, you know, it kind of shows you how he's getting started. You know, he doesn't have a bunch of, you know, techno stuff
he ain't
going
got
on.
Lucius Fox yet.
And it makes sense because he's building it, because she's like, Batman can do all that. I mean, he's running a business. He's a billionaire. He's on boats with girls. And I mean, he's doing all this stuff. And you know how long it takes to make some of this shit, right? So, but the hot rod thing, that makes sense. You know, he's got money. He can throw whatever engine in it, whatever suspension in it. It can do all this cool stuff.
Right.
So that made sense for that to happen.
And it looks like a car that you would build in your garage because it was not all like it didn't have leather interior and, you know, LED lights and shit. It was just like bare bones, but it had a damn jet engine in that motherfucker. And yeah, I mean, dude, shooting blue like that. That's one of the most iconic scenes, you know, in all comic movies when that Batmobile is introduced. And then, but it's a multitude of things. It's the scene, the sound effects, the acting, Colin Farrell's portrayal of how afraid he is of this car now, like all those things hit, you know.
The street driving was a little much, you know. I mean, come on. I mean, you're not going to miss all of that.
Right.
I mean, you're going to get killed up in that joint.
Absolutely.
But it was still cool. It was still cool.
It was a cool chase. I almost like I wish they would have leaned on like maybe the Fast and Furious directors a little bit for this, because for me the chase was a little hard to follow at times. Right. Like I know that scene gets a lot of praise, but I'm like, I don't know, the chase sometimes, like it's not adding up where the cars are and now they're here and now they're not. Like maybe y'all need to lean on, like, get Vin Diesel in here and he can tell you how to do the chase maybe.
I mean, they're becoming superheroes anyway. Exactly. So you might as well just, you know, lean on them for, you know, some action stuff.
Yep. I know. I think Homelander is going to show up in the next Fast and Furious movie. That's the only way that Dom Toretto is going to die, because apparently he's invincible. Right. If Homelander shows up and just fucking lasers his head off or something.
Right. Why is Fast and Furious making as many movies as they were, but not Triple X? I actually liked Triple X. Yeah. I've never seen until those. Ice Cube got in it. Yeah. But, you know, him playing Triple X, I thought those were good, you know, shows and stuff. Yeah. So
dude, at this point, I'd rather see him as Groot than Tom Toretto. Like, and I love, like, the Fast and Furious. We could talk for 3 weeks about those movies. Right. All right. So let's back up our opinions here with scores, Adrian. Okay. You know, people call our bluff. They say we're bullshitting here. So, Dark Knight, out of 10, I'm going to say 9.2.
Wow. I wouldn't even give him that much.
Really?
Nah. I mean, I'm hard on these things because of, again, the how long I've been into them. I would say Dark Knight probably an 8. Okay. And Wolverine, Logan, probably a 9.
I'm going to give Logan, I said 9.3. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do 9 on Dark Knight and 9.7 on Logan.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Logan's up there for me, dude. That's one of my all-time.
The only 9 point anything for me is not can't even think of the name.
If you say Black Adam, everyone.
No. It's not Black Adam. It's
Infinity War, Endgame.
No. The one that you don't like at all.
Matrix?
The Matrix, yeah.
Oh, God.
The first one. The first one.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, the first one, not the whole thing, because once they got to the end. Yeah. Like, when they got to, like, what was it, 2? Yeah. And she was dying at the end, but she just kept on talking. I literally said in the movie out loud, "Can you please shut the fuck up and die?" I was like, done, dude. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
You know what? I think we should do this, Adrian. I got an idea, right? Because we don't have a lot to review. There's not a lot of movies coming out anytime soon. We did Kings of Comics before, where we took characters and we threw them up against each other one by one. We came out with a victor, and I think it was Phoenix who won the whole thing. Yep. We should do the same with comic book movies. We get a list of every comic movie that's come out. Maybe we go since X-Men 1 or something. Okay. We'll start with we won't go get into the 70s Superman and all that shit. Right. We'll start with the 80s Batman movies. Okay. Michael Keaton Batman through the Marvels that just came out. Okay. I'll draw up the brackets like we did with the Kings of Comics. Sure. And week by week, we'll go through the rounds. We will find out what is the best comic book movie of all time.
I was hoping you go back at least that far because I think it's unfair to not include Blade.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll include Blades.
And because I mean those movies were definitely entertaining to me, and I hope this new Blade thing works out because the TV thing just was.
Yeah.
I just saw the previews and I was like, this is trash.
Yeah.
And there was like what 1 year.
Yeah.
And gone. So.
Yeah. No, we'll include the Blade. So we'll go back to Batman '89. That kind of kicked because I mean, the old Superman movies they don't fit these for me. It almost would be unfair to put them against these ones.
Exactly.
You know,
you can't put Christopher Reeve in there with all that stuff.
That's just like the Adam West level of Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great for the time.
Sure.
But
isn't he still like supposedly the most popular Superman
I think so.
ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it'd be unfair if he came in and beat everyone. So those we're gonna hold those in their own little special light.
Yeah.
But so we'll start that next week. I'll get a handle on every. I know this. I know there's 32 MCU movies. I know that because we confirmed that recently.
Right.
We won't do shows. We'll do movie for movie. We'll go 1v1. We'll break. I'll try to break them in brackets that are that make sense. So it's not like Blade 1 versus Blade 2.
Right.
We'll get and then we'll go and what we do here on Only Comics, we go my opinion versus Adrian's. If we disagree, we flip a coin, and then we take that as a winner. and We keep it moving. So it's a lot different than how they do the Grammys and stuff like that. So. All right, well, dude, I think that about wraps it up. We both agree Logan's better than Dark Knight. We love them both, but now Logan, if Logan were to fight the Dark Knight from those movies, that Logan versus that Christian Bale Dark Knight, who wins?
I think Logan.
Yeah, me too.
That would be. It would just be.
His head off, like
it would be one of those things where, in what's the show? Like the underground, like Fight Club.
Yeah.
Where the guy starts beating the guy, and they like everybody's like shouting and hollering and stuff in the beginning, but he kept beating them.
Yeah.
And then it starts quiet down, and then it's like now they looking at him.
Apparently, just
like,
stop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be one of those kind of things. Logan was just
especially that Logan, dude. He's had enough.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just like, I think he'd go back. I mean, Batman, I think would hold his own in a little bit in some combat, but eventually, Wolverine's gonna stab him.
Well, because he's also healing as he's getting injured,
right?
Assuming that Batman even gets to that point.
Exactly.
Number one, number two, he's just completely savage.
Yep.
Batman's into this like Superman. I'm really not going to kill anybody.
Right.
And Logan's got probably a couple of 100 years of combat under his belt.
Right.
I mean, it would just be it wouldn't be a good scene to watch at all.
So there you have it. That's going to piss some people off. Logan beats the Dark Knight movie. And Hugh Jackman's Logan beats Christian Bale's Batman in what, 10 minutes? 5 minutes? What do you think?
Any Wolverine would beat any Batman, period. Not just the Hugh Jackman, whatever.
Yeah.
Not just the actor portrayed Wolverines. I'm saying any Wolverine would beat any Batman.
Even with prep time. That's the argument, right? Even with prep time.
No, I'm just Wolverine and Batman ends up on a street corner at the same time, and they just go at it. Forget all the prep time.
Yep.
Forget if
Batman,
if Batman had prep time, he could probably beat him.
Yes.
He could definitely beat him.
Yeah.
Because all these tricks and everything, the big setup. But if they just met on the street corner at the same time in the same place, it would just be a massacre.
Yeah.
And it would be quick too.
Yeah. No, I agree. So we're saying under 5 minutes?
Oh yeah.
Under 5 minutes. Logan destroys Christian Bale's Batman, and the movie Logan's better than The Dark Knight. You heard it here on Only Comics, where you heard it from He Who Is Right, so obviously it's right. And then, Adrian, you also could be He Who Was Right with a lot of stuff you predicted.
I know. I think that fits you very well.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah, I'm holding the title for right now. So we'll pass it back and forth. Next time when I'll have to give it to you for a few weeks. We'll
I'm interested to see just first impressions, right?
Yeah.
The audience, whose hat do you think Mike is wearing this week? Without doing the research in it, just first glance, whose hat do you think that Mike's wearing this week?
Because a couple people got it wrong.
Yep.
They thought it was someone else. So, whose is it? Yeah, drop it in the comments. Whose hat is this? I have been accused of the hat game being fire, as the kids say nowadays. Okay. So
not mid, but fire.
No, not mid. It's definitely not mid. It's not the Flash. No, I can tell you this. This is not the Flash. I will spoil
The Flash wasn't even mid. So
no.
the Flash was under, whatever that terminology is, like under the barrel kind of thing.
I actually I put a filter on my browser so when I search for these hats, it eliminates, it prevents me from seeing any of the Flash's hats.
I need to just throw the shirt away. Really, I need to just throw the shirt away. I got this Flash shirt, and I just can't even pick myself up. And I think Flash is cool.
Yeah,
that's another underrated character.
Yeah,
he's known, but he's severely underrated.
Right.
You understand? I think Wonder Woman. There was some comic or meme or something, where they were on the Watchtower, the satellite, right? And Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl, and I think some other female was talking about who would they take as a man, right?
Okay.
And Wonder Woman said the Flash, and they was like, really, the Flash? And she's like, think about it. I mean, the stamina that he has, and then everything else that's involved, right?
Right.
But if you think about what he can actually do, in order for him to run the way he does, think about the power that he has behind all of that stuff.
Right.
The durability, the stamina, the speed, the strength. I mean, there's a lot going on with this character. Yeah. And what was it? The iconic comic Flashpoint.
Yeah.
That kind of showed some of his power.
It did.
But I mean, I think he's severely underrated. He's not portrayed as powerful as he is.
Right.
I mean, people focus on the Supermans and stuff like that. But Flash is a cool character. They just messed up when they did this Ezra dude.
Yeah, definitely. And the animated movie, DC's animated Flashpoint movie, I think is probably the best portrayal of the Flash we've seen on screen. We give the Flash a lot of shit on this show. Sometimes a little of it's just maybe a little bit of an exaggeration.
Right.
But there were some, like, you got to see some of the cool aspects of the character in that movie.
Right.
Like that was the first time I think we saw the fact that he's got to eat enough to have this, and like you just see him run all the time.
Right.
And Ezra's character had to keep replenishing his health and whatnot. And then when he got his powers back, we saw how powerful he actually could be. Now, some of the CGI was atrocious, so whatever. But I think best depiction, best to where we saw the Flash as a really strong character was the animated film Flashpoint.
Yep. I think they did the eating thing as a comedy point. He doesn't need to. I don't think he needs to eat like that.
No.
I mean, you eating on the run, literally. I don't think it works quite that way. And the director was like, the way Flash was running in that scene is the correct way that we should see. It's not.
No.
The Flash sees everything as probably like standing still.
Right.
The world is not a blur to him.
Right.
So we shouldn't see, when we see the Flash running, we shouldn't see a blur.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how that's supposed to be the correct way.
No, I don't think
that
so.
The Flash is
I think what that is they don't want to be accused of copying the Marvel formula because they did it with Quicksilver.
Right.
Remember in the X-Men universe? That was perfect.
Exactly.
Dude, if it works, just use it.
Exactly.
No, they have the same power set, for similar powers. So wouldn't it make sense that it looks similar to that on screen?
Sure. Ford is not going to go and create some other kind of car than Chevy. They're both cars.
Let's put a fifth wheel on it because we want it to be different. You know what I mean? It was wanted to be different, and then it's like the turns are all screwed up, so everyone keeps crashing it. But no, we want to keep it because we don't want to look like Fords. Yeah, who cares?
Whatever.
Yeah. Nope. So now the Flash is going to be in this movie tournament. So just give me a heads up,
So I want to be clear.
Yep.
Like Nixon, let's be clear. Or whoever said that. Anyway, I don't dislike the Flash.
Yep.
I think he's a great character. I think he's undervalued in the comic book world. It's just that Ezra Miller's version of him was so disgusting.
Yeah.
That it just kind of turns you off to the superhero.
Yeah.
So there could be. I was really hoping that the kid that plays the Flash, the WB, in the TV series would play the Flash on big screen. I think he would have made the perk. He's tall, he's skinny, right, and he just has that persona of him. This Ezra Miller version is just
yeah. Nah. And it goes to what you were saying earlier with all this comic experience. I mean, you've read Flash and a lot of comics, right? Like, that's nothing like any of the comic portrayals we've ever seen.
Right.
And my issue with the Flash movie, and I agree, I'd say the movie's mid. There's definitely there's a lot of comic book movies that are worse than the Flash.
Right.
I would not put it at the bottom. Like, I'd rather watch the Flash again than watch Thor 2. Like, stuff like, or the Eternals. My issue was the movie more than I thought. I was more tolerable of Ezra's portrayal, but for me, just a lot of the shit in the movie, like the fact that there was really no main villain, like it was just this neutered down version of General Zod that's just in the desert killing people on his own. Like what's the threat here? So there was a lot more issues with that for me than just the Ezra portrayal, and the fact that we didn't know if it was a Batman movie, a Flash movie. Michael Keaton's older now, but somehow he's better at being Batman, and he's more acrobatic than he was when he was 30 years younger.
Right.
Like a lot of things that just don't compute for me.
Right.
But the Flash will be in the tournament, so we'll see, dude. Hey, it would be cool if the Flash did make it through a couple rounds, depending on who it goes up against. You know?
Again, I predict that he will.
Yeah.
Because, again, his power set is severely underrated. I think he can take out a lot of people very quickly.
Got it. So we'll start this next week. It will be King of the Comics, the movie edition.
Okay.
And do you have, you're usually not big on predictions for things like this, but Adrian, do you have a prediction as to what movie will rule over all the other movies at the end of this tournament?
Dude, that's a lot of movies since the 80s. No, I don't have a prediction. I know what's not going to be there.
Yeah.
The Flash won't be there. Black Adam won't be there.
Yeah.
None of the Superman movies will be there. None of the Justice League movies will be there. Yeah. I predict that those won't be there.
I agree with those predictions.
Not necessarily who's going to be there, but those won't be there.
Yeah, I got you. I agree with those. Well, we'll find out. We'll start this next week. That's it for this week. Another fun week here on Only Comics. Yep. Adrian, appreciate you coming in, joining me.
Anytime.
And guys, thanks for downloading, watching, and we'll be back at you next week right here on Only Comics. We'll see you then.
Peace.